誰だお前。なんだなんだ。
There's a time and a place for almost everything, a phrase this game ignores for the national phrase of Japan. What the hell, Japan? Yakuza 0 is the last entry in Sega's Cult series for PS4 and is one of the wackiest celebrations of everything Japanese I've ever had the pleasure of experiencing. I won't lie, thanks to the necessary time commitment for this game, I wasn't able to really sink my teeth into it, but I played through as much as I could, and from what I've seen, this game is an awesome experience. When it comes to the story, this is a prequel to the entirety of the Yakuza series, exploring the origin of two of its protagonists, Kazuma Kiryu and Goro Majima. Their stories collide together thanks to the events of a power struggle between the Dojima Yakuza and the Tachibana Real Estate Agency over an empty plot of land in the nightlife district of Kamurocho, which is the last piece of property needed for a renovation project to go through. This of course all takes place during the 1980s, a time when the Japanese economy was booming. As I said, Kamurocho is full of character, and the different streets and districts are all well characterized to distinguish themselves from aesthetic to what businesses you can interact with, but when it comes to the actual power struggle that is central to this story, it can feel pretty trivial, especially when you see how big the plot of land is for yourself, but this is really something that just comes down to whether or not you're familiar with what Japan was like during these times. It is something that can be easily ignored. Now let's talk about the characters. They're a bit of a mixed bag, but not in terms of quality. They're all well voice acted, and at times they've got some amazing facial animations, especially in the cinematics, but their behaviour and differences in personality can make them feel like, well, they came from completely different animes.
ありがとうございます。私はこの酒を一度浴びるように飲んでみたかったのですが、おかげさまで夢が叶いました。
rather than a serious look into the lives of Yakuza. Kazuma, for instance, is very no-nonsense and grounded, basically your typical Yakuza, or how people would see a Yakuza, whereas Goro, he's just full-on wacky, and he's more reminiscent of a psychotic Looney Tune than anything anyone could genuinely take serious that wasn't in a mental hospital. This can be tied though to an overall issue with the writing. It's inconsistent, but that isn't to say it's an overall flaw, but it can be so weird to have the story jump back and forth between three radically different tones and styles, being the most compelling crime drama you're ever gonna see.
極道にとって親の命令は絶対
to the funniest tribute to Japanese culture ever made. To one of the most confusing things you're ever gonna see.
おしぼりはいかがですか。
Gameplay though is divided between exploring the open environment of Kamurocho and the nightclub district of Osaka, getting into fistfights, and just dicking around. Now don't be fooled by the footage, this is not an open world in the same vein as Grand Theft Auto. Instead, you've always got a linear objective to pursue, and depending on moments of the story, you will actually be forced down a linear path. And what's more is that even when you are free to explore the hub world of Kamurocho, you're constantly gonna get sidetracked by all sorts of random stories that just pop up, regardless of whether or not you actually want to continue the story. But while running into these can wreck the flow of the main story, they can also be a lot of fun and offer up some of the most memorable moments you're going to see in the game, like helping a shy novice dominatrix become a confident and successful bondage mistress.
Eh?
To helping a poor girl convince her father to stop arranging marriages for her. Other times you'll be checking out the various mini-games and dining establishments of Kamurocho, and these eateries are just a quick way to get your health back without going into your inventory supplies, while also watching an animation of the main character move their arms and bob their head as they eat. In the case of the mini-games though, I do have to confess I didn't spend the most time with them outside of the karaoke game or the crane games or basically what's in the Sega Land arcades, because those are awesome, but it is clear from what I've seen that a good deal of polish went into these, and there's a great variety to all of them. So much so that you could really spend most of your time with this game just playing the mini-games. There's also some online competitive play with these, believe it or not, but I didn't give this a go because, well, I was more interested in the story personally. As for the combat, well, it feels antiquated. It feels like it's been copied and pasted straight from an early 3D game rather than anything close to modern. Personally, I've criticized Assassin's Creed in the past for making itself more bland by throwing in the free-flow combat system, but with Yakuza 0 including elements of that system or just straight up copying it would actually be an improvement over what is here. But that isn't to say it's a complete disappointment thanks to, well, the usual character upgrades and combo unlocks, as well as being able to switch between 3 different combat styles to fit different situations, and some of the most intense, impactful visual flair I've ever seen. This not only makes the combat a lot of fun because you just want to get in there, beat some guys up, and see what type of brutal finisher animations you can pull off, and these never fail to make you wince or wow when you see a new animation play out. That's where a lot of the fun with the combat does come from, seeing what types of finishing moves you can pull off depending on the combat style, what's in the environment, and whether or not you've got a weapon. A personal favorite of mine was using a scalding hot teapot on a guy and pouring water on his face when he was on the ground. That was fucking awesome. If there's anything else to really say about Yakuza 0, it'd have to be the graphics. They are a mixed bag in quality, unlike the characters. Visually, it's all over the place, with the overworlds looking rather nice and colourful, but interior locales looking noticeably more mundane, with even some parts of the overworlds actually looking kind of iffy with the occasional texture pop-in. But then there are some areas that are just terrible. They're just horrifically boxy and jagged with the most basic texture work put on, and it's so glaring that it just stands out like a sore thumb, more so than it would in, say, Devil's Third. What's worse is the character models. These go back and forth between looking right at home on the PS4 to looking like something from a budget title or to something that a student made in their first 3D class. Not even the best models always look great. With Kazuma, if you look closely at his ears, you can kind of tell that they're just really simple low poly flaps with a flat texture on them. But in the case of Kazuma, it's kind of like the Wilhelm scream. It's not something that you need to worry about, but once you notice it, you can't stop seeing it. And it can also be argued that the graphical inconsistencies do actually add to the game's charm, but it would have been nice if there was just some more consistency with everything in terms of visuals. Now, Yakuza 0 is a great game, but it's not something that everyone is going to enjoy. A lot of its Japanese flavour is going to put some people off alongside its antiquated combat and inconsistent graphics. But if you're willing to give this a go and take the plunge, you're going to be in for one hell of an awesome time, where you'll get to plunge first into the inner politics of a Yakuza crime family, while also singing some awesome karaoke along the way. Alright, cool, it's awesome to finally get this video out. For game reviews this month, okay, this is gonna be it. I've had to change some things around because Yakuza 0 and Persona 5 have some pretty big time commitments, and in the case of Persona 5, it's also because, well, the streaming restrictions have stopped me from capturing a single second of the 13 hours I've already put into it. So for now, Persona 5, that's getting reviewed next month, so I've got loads of time to get past the streaming restrictions. In the meantime, I've got some more movie reviews coming out soon, so stay tuned for those, as well as some first impressions videos on Crysis 3 and Homefront: The Revolution. Fun fact, I use those games to benchmark my new PC. Anyway, got all that and more coming up, so stick around.